Banning abandoned and mysterious places is a fascinating adventure that reveals forgotten stories. From ghostly hotels to the remains of military constructions, each site offers a unique overview of an often overlooked past. Whether on the island of Bali or in the streets of Kiev, these ruins arouse curiosity and mystery, inviting the explorers to discover what is hidden behind their decrepit walls. Here is a journey through these enigmatic places and their mysterious history. Let's go. The Ghost Hotel, abandoned in Bali. The discovery of a mysterious hotel in the heart of Bali is still intrigued. The Indonesian island, renowned for its enchanting landscapes and majestic temples, saw an ambitious project to be born in the 90s. The Bedagul Taman Rekreasi Hotel planned to welcome tourists in search of luxury. However, this complex, nestled on the sides of a mountain near Lake Beratane, never was born. The hotel, which has never welcomed the slightest visitor, was abandoned in the middle of the site, leaving behind vestiges of an unfinished ambition. The inhabitants say that a curse weighs on these walls, evoking the spirits of the workers who lost their lives during the construction. This legend attracts the curious, but it is possible that more banal reasons explain the closure of this ghost hotel. The site, although abandoned, continues to arouse the fascination of tourists and adventurers. Nature has already started to regain its rights, enveloping the hotel in lush vegetation and offering a show that is both sad and captivating. For those who are interested in the mysteries of history and archaeological discoveries, the abandoned Hotel of Bali represents an invitation to explore the hidden accounts of the island. If you are captivated by enigmatic places and forgotten stories, do not hesitate to follow hidden worlds and dive into this trip through time and space. In short, this haunted hotel, with its troubled past and its mysterious atmosphere, remains a poignant testimony of lost ambitions, while arouse the interest of modern explorers. The Bus 7 Garage in Kyiv. What is hidden behind the imposing structure of the Bus Garage 7 in Kyiv? On the outskirts of the Ukrainian capital, in the heart of a landscape where residential areas are based in pine forests, stands a building that seems out of its time. Evoking a flying saucer, this immense construction measures almost the size of a football stadium. This vestige of the Soviet era, built in 1973, played a key role in transport in Kyiv, serving as a hub for more than 1,400 employees and more than 400 buses. However, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, the importance of this infrastructure has decreased, leading to its progressive abandonment. In 2015, the Bus 7 Garage closed its doors, leaving behind a space that has become a symbol of the city's industrial past. The building, although colossal, no longer fulfills its original function and is now a silent witness to a bygone era. The architecture of the garage, with its futuristic design, intrigues passers-by. However, few people achieve the historical wealth it embodies. The structure, which once housed a frantic activity, is today a place of curiosity for those who discover its bewitching contours. The Bus 7 Garage has become an emblematic site, evoking both the dynamism of a past era and the desolation of an uncertain future. While Kyiv continues to evolve, this building testifies to the transformations of the city and invites us to reflect on its history while remaining a forgotten monument in the urban landscape. The Design Center in Budapest. Industrial architecture can sometimes be a source of astonishment, especially when you discover buildings with unexpected charm. In the heart of Budapest, on the banks of the Danube, stands a striking example of Hungarian industrial history. The Kenfold power plant. Erected in 1914, it was one of the most powerful energy facilities in Europe in its time. Today, his Art Deco appearance gives him an almost anachronistic aspect within the modern city. What intrigues is that many observers do not suspect that this beautiful facade hides an old power plant. In activity until 2007, the Kenfold is now a classified building, like several other historic buildings in Budapest. Over time, the place has been transformed, and part of its facilities has become private property. A private museum has also developed, allowing visitors to discover perfectly preserved machines and turbines while exploring a control room that evokes the world of Jules Verne with its levers and its glass ceiling. This transformation testifies to a desire to preserve industrial memory while integrating the past into the present. The Kenfold is more than a simple building. It is a tangible link with the history of energy in Hungary. By exploring this fascinating place, visitors can not only admire architecture, but also plunge into the world of engineering in the past. This site, far from being forgotten, embodies the heritage of a bygone era while registering in the contemporary dynamics of Budapest. The myth of Pora. What makes Pora a place so captivating and steeped in history? Located on the island of Rügen, Germany, this huge vacation complex fascinates by its magnitude and tumultuous past. Built in the 1930s by the organization Force by Joy, Pora was to accommodate up to 20,000 vacationers. However, the Second World War interrupted this ambitious project, transforming it into a restricted military zone in the 1950s. The buildings, initially intended for relaxation, served as barracks for the border troops of the GDR. The decadence of the site began with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the East German regime. Conflicts concerning the preservation of this historical heritage have led to its gradual abandonment. It was not until 2004 that private investors began to revive Pora, allowing the transformation of this space to a seaside resort. Today, the remains of this colossal hotel attract curious and history enthusiasts, testifying to an often ignored past. The ruins, with their massive architecture, evoke the dreams of a bygone era, but also the dark realities of the Nazi regime. Pora thus becomes a symbol of the duality of its history, an aborted leisure project that has become a monument to past conflicts. This place has become a popular destination where you can explore the vestiges of Nazi architecture while enjoying the natural beauties of the Baltic coast. The fascination for Pora lies in this confluence of history, mystery, and reinvention, inviting everyone to discover what the past can teach us. The Duga Radar. The north of Ukraine houses one of the most famous abandoned sites in the world, Chernobyl. However, another mysterious place, the Duga Radar, recently attracted the attention of visitors. Built during the Soviet era, its exact objective remains vague to date. Formerly considered a well-kept secret, this immense structure is clear in the surrounding landscape. From a distance, it looks like a surreal wall of excessive proportions. But by approaching, we discover that it is made up of multiple elements. This site is decorated with hundreds of antennas and turbines, measuring 150 meters in height for 700 meters long, which gives it titanic dimensions. This colossal monument represents an ideal place for adventurers, but it is important to note that access to the Duga Radar is only possible in the context of guided tours in Chernobyl. Curiosity around this building has continued to grow since the controlled opening of the contaminated area in 2011, allowing a wider audience to question its origins and its function. The mystery persists around this construction, which, although evident in the landscape, still raises many questions. Why was she built? What was his real role during the Cold War? These questions remain unanswered. The tunnels of the Reza project. What stories hide behind the mysterious tunnels of the Reza project? This underground system, located near Valbukik, is one of the most impressive vestiges of the Nazi era. Built between 1943 and 1945 by forced workers, this tunnel complex extends several kilometers under the castle of Fustenstein. Its exact objective remains subject to debate. Some argue that it was used for the secret production of weapons, while others believe that it was planned as a fallback site for the headquarters of Hitler, the Wolfsschlucht. A myth also surrounds these tunnels. It is said that a train loaded with gold would have disappeared in this area without leaving any trace. For decades, adventurers have been looking for this legendary gold train, hoping to find it in the underground maze, but all their attempts have failed so far. The tunnels of the Reza project are not only a testimony to human ingenuity, but also a recall of the horrors of the war. They evoke accounts of suffering, struggles, and buried secrets. Today, this fascinating structure attracts curious and history enthusiasts, wishing to explore the remains of a troubled past. Despite the dark nature of their origin, these tunnels have become a site of interest. Turkish Disney castles. Living in a fairy tale castle or a medieval fortress is a dream shared by many. In a small town in northeast Turkey, this wish can come true thanks to the presence of no less than 700 of these magnificent constructions. Each house sports its own tower and 2 enchanting balconies, but all these mini chateaux are strangely alike. This colony, with a shopping centre and a mosque, gives the impression of a mirage rather than a suburban ideal. Perhaps this is the reason why these haunted castles are still almost entirely empty, receiving only ghostly visitors. For the Turkish group Sero, responsible for this project, the situation is far from magical. After the completion of these charming buildings, the company had to declare itself bankrupt. Since then, Arab investors have taken possession of about half of these castles, the cost of which amounts to $450,000 each, hoping that the trend of living in a castle inspired by Disney ends up seducing potential buyers. Despite this commercial failure, these castles continue to intrigue and attract attention. They evoke the collective imagination and the fascination for fantastic style architectures. Although their future remains uncertain, these unique constructions bear witness to a disproportionate ambition and a project which, despite its failure, has left a lasting imprint in the region. In short, the Turkish Disney castles embody both an unfinished dream and an architectural curiosity that intrigues visitors. The huge piles of car scrap metal in China. China, in full economic boom, has become a major player on the automotive market. With the increase in the purchasing power of citizens, many Chinese turn to the purchase of modern cars. However, this prosperity is accompanied by an environmental challenge, the need to eliminate polluting vehicles. As a result, the country faces an insoluble problem concerning the treatment of abandoned cars, trucks, and mopeds. The vehicle dumps in China are among the most impressive and singular in the world. Often, these metal mountains are far from major cities, but some deposits take particularly unusual forms. In Yiwu, for example, residents of the peripheral districts live near a huge truck cemetery. In Hangzhou, an imposing scrap hill stands in the heart of the city, while in Chongqing, hundreds of yellow taxis are quietly rusting in a forest. These deposits, although distressing, represent a fascinating aspect of contemporary reality. They raise questions about waste management and recycling materials. The sight of these heaps of scrap evokes a reflection on our relationship to consumption and the environment, and on the way in which modern companies treat their waste. These sites are not only witnesses of an era of overconsumption, but also reminders of the need to adopt sustainable practices. The Chinese scrap metal mountains embody a paradox. While they symbolize economic progress, they also highlight the environmental challenges that the country has to face. The future of these deposits remains uncertain, but they invite us to rethink our approach to consumption and sustainability. Siberia, full of tanks. Siberia, vast and fascinating, is a territory where many things have disappeared or have been deliberately hidden. It is rare that these vestiges are resurfacing, but it is remarkable to discover an entire deposit of military vehicles at the heart of this Siberian solitude. This happened a few years ago when the Russian Defense Ministry was faced with a scandal. In fact, around 100 tanks were discovered, rusting in the middle of the woods, without any surveillance on this armament site in Ekaterinburg. Recently, images have surfaced, allegedly from the extreme east of the country, showing a fleet of impressive military vehicles. Hundreds of tanks, weapons, trucks, and other military equipment were visible. However, the place and date of this discovery have not yet been verified, leaving a doubt about the veracity of these claims. Siberia, with its dense forests and isolated landscapes, constitutes an ideal ground to hide such vestiges. Nature often resumes its rights over these structures, adding a touch of mystery to the history of this abandoned equipment. Discoveries of this type awaken the curiosity of adventurers and history enthusiasts who dream of unraveling the secrets left in the military past of the region. The question remains whether other similar deposits exist, waiting to be discovered. With the rise of modern technologies and explorations, it is possible that new military vestiges are resurfacing, thus revealing more forgotten stories of this intriguing land. These mysterious and abandoned places around the world carry in them fascinating stories and secrets to discover. Whether it is the Ghost Hotel in Bali or the tunnels of the Reza project, each site has its own story of forgetting and curiosity. Exploring these historical and mysterious issues nourishes our imagination and our desire for adventure. Share your favorite experiences or places and join this trip through the hidden worlds.